Well, you're looking at a middle-aged employee who's found himself downsized, out on the street. So here I am at this stage of my life having to go out and do interviews, competing against guys half my age. And the interviews now, they ask these situational type questions. They're expecting descriptive stories. Well, I better have some good ones for them.
Describe a time when a supervisor or manager placed you in a difficult situation that you were not prepared for. How did you respond, and what was the outcome?
Well, one day my boss walks up to me, pointing like this, and says, "You are on probation, pal. You've got 30 days to shape up or you're going to get fired," which pretty much means I'm going to be fired. Now, I did not know what to do about this. I was totally unprepared, but I knew I needed to do something. So I took a few minutes, gathered my thoughts. After all, preparation is everything. And then I proceeded to march into his office, where I found him standing behind his desk with his administrative assistant in front of him on her knees, and he with his pants around his ankles. I quickly pulled out my phone and got off 2 shots before she was able to stand up, got another one of her running away, and a last shot of him trying to pull up his pants with his face like this. Now, in the corporate world, as you know, blackmail is merely a form of leverage, but it takes skill to utilize that leverage in order to create an agreement for all parties involved. Now, I was still fired. That was part of the agreement. And I walked out later that day with 3 years severance pay, my company bonus, plus an additional $30,000 in corporate stock, and my health plan intact. So, as you can see, I am a person who knows how to assess a situation with a superior very, very quickly and take prudent action in order to create a win-win situation for all parties involved.
Describe a time when you had to confront another employee because of a conflict with that employee. What actions did you take to resolve the conflict?
Well, there was this one guy on our team, and he was a real grandstander. He loved to brag. He loved to look like he was the most important person, that it was always his idea. And after one of our meetings where he very pointedly and obviously took credit for work that I had done, after the meeting, I said to him, "Hey, could you come over here for a second? I would like your advice." He loved hearing that. We walked down a long hallway around the corner and into an alcove where we were alone, out of sight and could not be heard. Now, I'm going to give you a tip. When you make a fist, there's a lot of little tiny bones right here, and they're really quite fragile. So if you take a swing at somebody, but you're a little bit off, you didn't hit that punch quite right, you could possibly do more damage to your fist than the guy's face. But your elbow, now the elbow has this big mass of bone right here. It's like having a ball-peen hammer halfway down your arm. Not a lot of range, but a whole lot of power. So, we walk into the alcove, I do a cross-cut to the face, break his jaw, puts my elbow right in position for a quick jab when his nose broke and made a pop sound. Like that, and he went down, blood all over his face. He's screaming and crying. I make my angry gangster face and say to him, "All right, pal, you're never, ever gonna take credit for something that I've done again, right?" Then I grab him by the jaw, not the throat, because I want to hear his response. I grab him by the jaw, right. I stood up, looked down at him one last time and said, "You're not going to talk about this to anybody. It's your word against mine, and my reputation is impeccable." I gave him one last cowboy kick in the gut just to make sure he stays down. I left. Problem solved. So as you can see, I do not shy away from any confrontational situation. I face it head on. I deal with it directly, very efficiently, in order to make sure that as quickly as possible, we retain harmony in the work environment.
Describe a time when you were given a large amount of work that needed to be finished within a certain time frame. How did you adapt your work methods in order to meet the deadline?
Well, I was assigned this very important project with a 3-week time frame. No sooner had I started, but my boss came in and said, we've got to take a week off of that. You've only got 2 weeks to finish this, and it's important. It needs to get done. Well, with only 2 weeks, that means 2 weeks of all-nighters, and even then, I'm not so sure I could get it finished. However, it wasn't really a concern to me because I possess the ability of time travel. Utilizing astral projection, I was able to take my essence out of our dimension into another dimension and work out of time, where I was able to finish the project leisurely. Of course, the word leisure doesn't really mean anything when you're working in a dimension where there is no time. Nevertheless, I finished the project, re-entered our dimension at the exact nanosecond from when I left, so that to us, no time had passed at all. I was able to take a week playing video games and still hand in the project a week ahead of time. You see, everything that has happened is going to happen and is happening all at the same time. A concept that many people have difficulty grasping, but I have complete control over that. And I would consider it a great opportunity if you would allow me to share that ability with your company if you should choose to hire me.